So let's get started. Start off with black clay. Mine is really crumbly, so this is something I do to condition it. Probably just because this is the very first black clay I've ever bought, so it's like a year old. So after I do that, I did that 3 times, and now I roll it into a ball. And I'm going to start shaping it now. Start by pinching out the little handles on the PlayStation 3 controller. A lot of this first part of the video is just going to be shaping it, because you're not using a lot of different colors, the rest of it is done with paint, so... Oh, and that was my reference. It's always good to have a reference. Here I'm indenting in between where the triggers are going to go. And then I'm going to work on the dual sticks next with my stylus tool here. But then I decide that it doesn't work that well, so I grab my needle tool. So then I'm making those cylindrical forms by pushing in 4 little lines here, and then I'll flatten out the middle, so then these pop forward and the middle is flat. If that makes sense. You're working in a subtractive way here, I guess, instead of an additive way. Now I'm just being finicky and going over things again and again and again to get the shape a little bit more crisp and nicer. And now I'm doing the surfaces that the directional buttons and the action buttons are going to go on. It looks like I already did it once. It's because I did. I made them too big, and there needs to be enough room for you to write Sony and put the select and start buttons in there. So you can see I'm rolling out one big ball and squishing it down, and then a tiny one goes on top. So the big ones are for the directional buttons and the action buttons, and then the small ones for where the dual sticks are. And then you can flip them over and squish them back and forth so they make one shape, and then you put them onto your controller. And now I'm going to work on the triggers. This color, I didn't show it mixing, but it's black and white, and I tried to make it a warm gray. So I added a bit of brown to it, but I'm not really happy with it, so if I would do it again, I would add more white to lighten it a bit more and not as much brown. And now I'm indenting the 1 and 2 for the triggers. Make the top ones a little bit skinnier, the bottom ones fatter, just like they are on a real PlayStation 3 controller. So then I grab it with my X-Acto knife. You can see it's got distorted a bit, it's just because it's so warm here, so it's so soft. So I just fixed it up a little bit, and I place it on. And then do it again for the other 4. 3. Apparently I can't count, so... Anyways, moving on. So now just do the dual sticks, just a tiny bit of clay, roll into a ball, and push it on. And do that twice. So now I'm going to do the directional buttons. I had put this gray clay through my pasta machine on a very thin setting, and now I'm going to cut 2 very thin strips and then cut out 4 evenly sized rectangular shapes. So here I'm doing the start and select buttons. So one of them is just a rectangle, the other one's triangle, so you just cut it out from a rectangle. And then I'll do the PlayStation button in the middle, which I just make a little sphere out of and push it down using my stylus tool. Except my clay wasn't really behaving, so then I do it again. And now I'm going to do the action buttons, so you just roll out 4 little balls of black clay and push them down using your stylus tool or whatever tool you have. So now I'm getting my eye pin and I'm sticking it in the side, and then the last step before you bake it, which I almost forgot, is you go around the edge of the center, and this is where when they build the controller they put it together, so go all the way around and then it's time to bake it. And you can also add a little hole in the back for the USB port. And this is a paintbrush I'm using to paint on all the details, a very tiny one. And the paint I used, you definitely don't have to have a thing this big, it's just, I also do art, so, but I do recommend acrylic paint. So then you paint on the different symbols. I don't show me like mixing the colors, but the X is just a light blue, so blue and white. Triangle, it's kind of a blue-green, so I added a bit of blue to it. And just do it one little line at a time. And steady your hand. Might take a little bit of practice, and you can always touch it up with black paint or go over it again at a later time, which I actually recommend. And then here's the circle, which is an orangey red, and the square, which is like a pink. Right here I'm just painting 2 dark blue lines for the dual stick and 6-axis. Sorry, I didn't realize I was out of frame. And here's the USB port symbol and 4 little dots for the controller, 1, 2, 3, 4. And here's the most annoying part I find is writing Sony. I still didn't really leave myself enough room for this one, and I'm still not that happy with it as I am the previous controller charm I made, so I have no idea how many times I did this. I washed it off and did it again. As long as the acrylic paint is still drying, you can wash it away, or you can even scratch it away, which I do right here with my needle tool to try and separate the letters a little bit. Just keep going with it until you're happy. And here I just touch up the USB port a little bit because it was too dark of a gray and I wanted it lighter so it showed up a bit more. And that's it for the painting. And now once it's all dry, I take out the eye pin, stick it in some glue and stick it back in, and then get rid of the excess glue using my needle tool. And now I'm gonna glaze it with a gloss glaze. Controllers actually aren't that shiny, but I like it shiny, so I would normally do one side, wait for it to dry, and then flip it, but here I didn't do that. I was just being very careful, holding the very edges, and then I hand it off to my magnetic mannequin. He's really handy for things like that, so I just make him hold it until it's dry. I hope you found this helpful. If you used it, please give me a link because I'd love to see your results. Thanks for watching. Bye.